Welcome to Remnant 101 at the City on a Hill Church. I'm Associate Pastor Benji Lalayan. God's remnant knows that they can't only please God when it's convenient, because it might be too late. We're going to look at a few different verses over a couple of different areas across the Bible, starting with Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Next, we're going to look at Hebrews 11:6, a verse that we read all the time. It says, but without faith it is impossible to please him, for he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And then one more set of verses in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. It says, but concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. I'll get to that one a little bit later on, but these verses are stressing that we need to make a concerted effort to please God, seek out his will, and do it with our words, our bodies, and our minds, and our spirits, regardless of what the world says, and do it by faith, as Hebrews said. It's important to note that God wants us to be actively looking for ways to do this, even so much as making it our lifestyle. But a lot of people don't realize that even though they may be doing so to some degree, they're letting what they do for God come down to convenience. And by that, I mean when it's easy and doesn't require a person to go out of his way to do something to please God. God is looking for people who are always looking to please God and are willing to drop everything when he says to move. Noah would not have found grace in God's eyes if he wasn't bent on pleasing him. But even at that, he had to drop everything when God told him to build an ark, no matter how inconvenient it was. God's remnant has made a point to both say and act on the principle of please God at all costs. And sometimes that has required sacrifices in work situations, relationship or family situations, or personal situations. But it shows an effort to please God, not just when it's convenient. Because you better believe that the devil will try to use those personal, family, relationship, and whatever else situations to hold you back. You got to remember that the basis of what the devil works on is deception. If he can convince you to be satisfied with pleasing God in convenience, he's got you one step closer to walking away from God entirely. Now he's got you putting yourself first instead of God. And what if Noah let anything like that get in the way? The point of this is that if you let that happen, you will not be able to see when it's too late. We've learned that doing things for God is more beneficial for us in the long run anyway. Our covenant with God means all for all. When we give God our all, he gives his all to us. And we need to recognize how much better off we are when we put our lives on earth in God's hands. We only do that by focusing on pleasing him with what we do in our lives. And it keeps us filled with joy, it keeps us safe from disaster and destruction, and it gives us the right to be told when God is about to do something so that we have the chance to make sure that we are on the right side of it. Like telling the man of God to tell us to drop everything and get into the ark so that we are kept safe from impending destruction, like I read in 1 Thessalonians. But even at that, if you're waiting for a time that's more convenient for you to get into the ark, it might be too late. Remember, it said in 1 Thessalonians, it comes like a thief in the night. Noah had the right to God's warning, but he still had to drop everything and obey. And so do we. If you're living by the please God at all costs principle, you will do whatever it takes to make sure you're in the ark with us. God bless you.